Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most recent signings in the NFL, as the Cleveland Browns have signed defensive tackle Shelby Harris, who played with the Seattle Seahawks this season, and mostly in his most of his career has played with the Denver Broncos from 2017 through 2021, and was a part of the most famous trade, one of the most famous trades. I feel like probably one of the biggest steals I've ever seen in a trade. You saw Shelby Harris in the Russell Wilson trade. Look at some of the players they got. They got Shelby Harris, a year of Shelby Harris. I know it's only one season, but he played 15 games. It was actually really solid for the defense this year for them. They also got Noah Fant, who's still on the roster and has been a really good tight end for the Seahawks offense. That's another guy that was brought in. They got Drew Lock. Hasn't done much for the Seahawks, but at the same time, he's been a really solid backup quarterback. And he's right there if anything happens to Geno. And they got multiple first-round picks and other draft picks as well. I can't remember what pick it was that they got from Denver in that draft, but I do remember they made the trade before the NFL draft happened, and they made the trade before the MLB draft happened, before the NFL draft happened, and also so that the trade was before the NFL draft, and they got the Broncos 2020. They got the Broncos 2022 first round pick, which I can't really remember what pick that was, but I think they picked someone solid, but I can't remember who they picked or what pick it was. But then they got their first round pick from 2000 for the next year for the 2023 draft. You saw the Broncos, even though they acquired Russell Wilson, be terrible this year, and that pick ended up to be the 5th overall pick, where you saw the Seahawks draft Devin Witherspoon with the 5th overall pick, who I think will be a stud. That was a horrible trade for the Broncos. And at the time, it looked good. I feel like it could look a little better. I think Russell Wilson will have a better year this year. But Shelby Harris, who the Browns just signed today, was a part of that Russell Wilson trade. And that is why he was with Seattle in the 2022 season. Let's go over his stats for Seattle. But before I go over his stats, I love this addition for Cleveland. I think they've upgraded their defense quite a bit. They signed Ogbo Okokongwo from the Houston Texans as a Texans fan. He is a stud. He had 45 tackles last year, 5 sacks, I think 12 or 10. I think it was 10 or 11 or maybe 12 tackles for loss last year. He had 4 passes deflected too. He was a beast last year for the Texans defense. He can play defensive end, but he can also play linebacker. They traded for Zadarius Smith, just like Ogbo can play linebacker and defensive end. And now they've signed Shelby Harris. And they've made a couple other solid moves. They signed guys like Maurice Hurst and Mike Ford. They have made really solid moves to the defense. They already had a good defense last season, and now they've upgraded it even more. This Browns defense, I think, is going to be one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL this year. I feel like the Browns defense is underappreciated. I think they're going to be way better than people think they will be this year. And I don't think their offense is going to be too bad either. They have a full season of Deshaun Watson now. People are saying, that are close to the Browns organization, executive or whatever, people are saying that Deshaun Watson is looking like the old Deshaun Watson with Houston, where, you saw Deshaun, just ball out for the Texans, was a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL a couple seasons ago in the 2019 and 2020 season, and even 2018 he was good too. And people are saying he is back to that form. They have Amari Cooper on the offense as well. They did lose Kareem Hunt, but they did add in Elijah Moore, who's expected to have a great season this year with the Cleveland Browns. They also drafted Cedric Tillman, who I think could be a really solid draft pick. I think he was drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. But I want to go over Shelby Harris's stats. His last season with the Seahawks and his first 5 years with the Broncos. Let's get into it. So this year with the Seahawks, played 15 games, 15 starts, had 4 passes deflected with 2 sacks and 45 tackles, with 5 tackles for loss and 6 QB hits. 2021 with Denver, played all 16 games, starting in all 16 of them. He had 2 passes deflected with 1 forced fumble and had 6 sacks, 50 tackles, and 7 tackles for loss. 2020 with Denver only played 11 games with 11 starts, 7 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, 2.5 sacks, 32 tackles, and 4 tackles for loss. 2019 with the Broncos played 16 games, 16 starts, 9 passes deflected, which is a career high for him, 1 forced fumble, and also had 6 sacks, which is a career high in sacks for him in a season, 50 tackles, and he had 8 tackles for loss with 6 QB hits. 2018 with the Broncos, he actually started 0 games in 2018, but from 2019 through 2021 with the Broncos, he played in 43 games and started in every single one of them. But 2018 with the Broncos, played in 16 games with 0 start, had an interception, which is the only interception he's ever had in his career, had 4 passes deflected with a sack and a half, 39 tackles, and 8 tackles for loss. 2017 with the Broncos, 16 games, 6 starts, 3 passes deflected, 5.5 sacks, 35 tackles, and 7 tackles for loss. So he had a really good 5 years in Denver. First 2 seasons in Denver wasn't as involved as he was in his last 3 with the defense. But his last 43 games in 3 seasons with Denver, he started every single one of them. Although his, I think first 32, he only started 6. So he changed things around in his last 3 years with the Broncos, and I mean he was even decent for the Broncos even before he became. When he wasn't a starter, he was decent for the for the Broncos defense. I think he should be a great addition for the defense of the Cleveland Browns. I think he'll do really good for them. You guys have your thoughts on the addition for the Cleveland Browns? I like this signing. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.